Hello, artsy friends. Welcome back. If you've been here before, Composition Notebook to Art Journal. So this video is a little bit longer. I try to keep them around 15 minutes or less just because I am a little ADD. And so I know if I keep things moving along that, you won't lose interest, hopefully. But this is kind of two videos in one because I'm starting out creating some collage fodder. So I'm going to put a link to a video down below that I can't think of the lady right now, but I will remember it and then I'll put it right there. But yeah, got some inspiration here by using some book pages and some music sheets and a dictionary. And so I'm just gathering some items from around the house that I can use as stencils and stamps. And I am just going to create some collage fodder. So this is a little star cookie cutter I got from a friend at the 4th of July party. She was like, does anybody want these? And I'm like, ooh, I know something I could do with that. So, and then I have this is actually an imitation Lego thing that I got at like a Goodwill outlet bins, the gross places that are like full of dirty trash that nobody wants. Those are great places to find like old imitation Legos that I can use as a stamp. And this is a spool from Scotch tape that I used up, which is kind of cool because it has a double ring. I like that. So I'm just stamping on top of some different book pages. Here's another cookie cutter. So I actually did this little project before I made my last video because I wanted to start out with this blue aqua teal-ish color and orange. I wanted that combination, and then if you watched my last video, I brought in some pinks and some other colors, and that orange just didn't work with it. So I'm showing you the collage fodder portion now because I'm going to build my page based on this collage material that I'm using and these paint colors. So at this point, I have no idea where I'm going. I had a nice little lovely conversation with a Facebook friend in my art journaling and mixed media group about do you visualize your whole page or do you just kind of make it up as you go? And I am definitely a make it up as you go kind of person. I really like the no pressure to conform to an idea and fail. So if I don't have this grandiose vision, then I can't screw it up, right? Plus, it kind of reveals itself. It's kind of I don't know, it's a mystery to unfold because you really don't know what the end is going to be like from the beginning. And so it reveals itself through the process. So I really enjoy that. However, I will say that I think it would be really cool to practice and work on how I can bring an idea into visual symbolism. I thought about how our mind is kind of like a battlefield and we have to accept or reject or, truth and lies and all the things that we hear and listen to or the thoughts that come through our head. And I thought, how could I visually represent that, a picture of a mind, maybe myself, figure out how to draw and then have maybe a battle going on. I don't know, something that you could see it and you're like, ooh, wow, that's really deep and symbolic. That would be cool. So, maybe someday I will work on those kind of skills. But for now, I just like making more abstract kind of work because I can't really screw it up. It's very forgiving. That's what I love about art journaling and mixed media is that I don't feel like I'm putting a lot of expectations on myself. It's just do one thing at a time, enjoy it. If you don't love it, do something different. I hope that you enjoy the same thing. Don't put any pressure on yourself. Just have fun. It's only art. It's only paint. It's only paper. So, this is a potato sack that I discovered was made a really cool stencil. So those little miniature golden potatoes, the little ones that are yummy, the little plastic sack makes for a good stencil. Okay, now we can start building a new page. So all of my collage fodder is dry, and I'm just kind of looking, reviewing. You just saw all those. So I am just going to start fiddling around with it. You really don't know until you start tearing things up and moving things around the page exactly what you need. Sometimes you're like, that's too big. That's too small. That's in the wrong spot. So it's just a matter of playing around with it. I do try to be aware of weight on the page. So when you have a consistent pattern or color, your eye is going to notice when they're in different places on the page. So if you imagine that there was a breeze coming through, and if each element had weight, would it anchor the page down? Would it feel secure? Would it feel balanced? I am going to glue down a second. Even though I'm collaging, I'm just going to strengthen my page by doubling it up. And I really had kind of a struggle at first trying to figure out how I wanted to do my collages. So I did want to add some paint to the background. And again, I am using those same colors that I used on my collage materials to build the background up, because those are the main colors that I want. So sometimes as I edit, I go back and listen to some of my voice recordings that I had just done, and I just heard the air conditioning vent turn off, and it was so much nicer. I wish that I could always work in adequate temperatures, but my recording studio slash, it's not a studio, slash art studio, which is not a studio, is just a bonus room above the garage that is not very well insulated. And so we're always running the air conditioner or the heater in the winter. It's cooled off finally here in Northwest Arkansas. So finally my air conditioner doesn't have to run. Because usually I come up here in the afternoon and the thermostat only goes up to 99, and I know it's way hotter than that. It's probably 100 and something degrees up here, which is probably killing some of my art supplies. So I have all my art supplies up here, and I don't know. I'm sure some of you are probably cringing going, oh no, all your paint is going to dry out and all of your stuff is going to get ruined, which, it might. I don't know. My husband offered to let me take over his office since he no longer works from home, so I'm considering that. But there's some other things to consider in that choice as well, and I won't bore you with all that. So I am just Mod Podging away here. I love how the music sheet, I didn't even realize this, but as when I tore it out, but the song on the music sheet, the title is A Happy Life. Isn't that cute? Up in the corner. Yay. Which my last page was a quote about the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. So it would have been appropriate for that page. So I'm really liking how my collage fodder is working out. I just have to kind of decide. I'm really picking where there's a lot of orange background. I will try to collage over it with something with a little blue, and vice versa, as you can see there with the circles and the stripes. And then varying them in vertical and horizontal will also add a little bit of interest, because your eyeballs are, they notice these things. So it's funny. I'm kind of a maximalist when it comes to my art journaling. Like when I'm doodling, I just keep going and going and going forever with details. And that's kind of what this page turned into as well. Like I just could not stop tearing up my pieces into smaller pieces and layering them over other pieces. Yeah, I don't know. I just can't help myself. I have some elements sticking off the page. I am going to go back and cut those if you're wondering. And yeah, I'm just going to break it up. I kind of basically just look at the background and decide what would pop off the background, and then make sure that I don't conceal the entire background if I want that contrast there. Okay, folks, what you see here is two, not one, but two different types of masking tape. I don't know if they're different brands or one of them's really old or what, but I am going to play around with a quote and I'm going to write it on masking tape because that background color of like the music sheet kind of reminded me of a masking tape color. So yeah, and sometimes when I write directly on a page, usually, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a perfectionist, but sometimes I go back and I'm like, I wish I would have done the wording a little bit differently or something like that. So I'm kind of being a little bit more strategic in my art journaling now with quotes. So this is an easy way to do that, is to do your wording on another piece of paper, or in this case on a piece of tape. That way, as you go, if you didn't like the way that you wrote a letter or something like that, then you can change it. Yeah. So the Posca marker didn't dry right away on the masking tape, so that's why I'm just kind of tapping it down with the scissors until it dries so that I don't smear it and smudge it. See, I'm learning lessons. Aren't you proud of me? Because I am really impatient and I smudge a lot of things. Okay, this quote. We are on, actually, you know what? Is it a quote if I made it up? Or if I took an idea that I read or thought about and then made it my own? We are under no obligation to accept every thought that enters our mind. And this is going to be test everything. So I believe that there is a spiritual battle that goes on in the invisible realm around us, that and that not every thought that we think is from ourselves, which that sounds a little like, woohoo, little psycho, a little crazy. But have you ever had a thought pop into your head and you're like, where did that come from? Like either it's like, ew, like gross, yucky, scary, ugh. Like I don't even want to think that thought or whatever. I think that's totally the enemy, the devil. The devil. Another way he often speaks to people is through accusation. In fact, his name actually means the accuser, and he accuses people before God, and he also accuses us to ourselves. Like, you know, when you have those self-condemning thoughts, sometimes I don't think those are even from ourselves. I think there is a voice whispering to us. Now, I don't think the devil can read our minds. He's not omnipotent, but he can observe and listen and watch, and he knows our weaknesses, and he knows when he can, you know, whisper lies into our brains and tell us that, you know, we're not good enough, we're not valued, we're not loved, we're not worthy, we're not worth anything. And those, I believe, are lies from the pit of hell, because that is not what God says about us. So that's what my quote is all about. It's just about remembering that we have to test our thoughts and not to believe every thought that we think. Okay, so now I am working on a focal point for my page, because the collage has kind of like melded the whole thing together, and I know my quote doesn't really pop off quite enough. So I am working with circles, because there's a lot of circles in my collage material, and so I'm just playing around here with some ideas. So I'm varying colors and thick and thin markers, and I don't even know what I'm going to do yet. All right, so now I'm going to play around with my focal point, and right away I realize like the black lines really bring a lot of contrast and make my focal point pop off, but I need to bring out my quote much more. So I underline the tape with black, and now I'm outlining the words with a thin black marker, and I really like how it's turning out. For some reason it reminds me of Dr. Seuss. Like Green Eggs and Ham. Is this the color scheme that he used? I don't know. But I'm also feeling like it's a little too bright. So I'm going to mute it a little bit with my liquid gesso, which this gesso is like really thin and chalky and kind of crappy. I don't know. It's not what I really was looking for when I bought it, but I have a whole bottle of it. So it's just going to kind of tone it down. And I feel like that works a little bit better with the background. I wanted it to pop, but not that much. Not so that the rest of the page just kind of like disappears into the background. So I am trying something a little bit different, changing gears. I'm making rings instead of just circles, and then I'm gonna try to arrange them. And then I had the thought, ooh, if I make a little cut in one, then I can wrap them through each other. Now I think that they were a little bit too toned down, so I added some Posca markers, so it's kind of a tricky thing trying to get it just the right amount of brightness. And it was kind of hard to just figure out how I wanted to arrange them as well. Did I want that little extra circle to be like floating on top of a ring or inside of a ring or outside of a ring? And so I'm just fiddling with it. Okay, so I want this circle to kind of match the other rings, and I wasn't patient enough and I gooped it up a little bit, but I think I'm just going to save it, salvage it, and redraw some of the lines. Yeah. So, you know, it happens. Okay, I know you're probably thinking by this point, surely this is the end of her page, but no, I have to just keep going. It's kind of tired watching me. Like, when are you going to be done, right? I have the advantage of knowing when I'm done, but you know, there's always something more. Again, a lot of times I keep going just because I am so into the process that I'm like, oh, I don't want to quit. What else can I do? What else can I do? But I did notice that some of the orange in the background was kind of bold. And so I was like, what can I do to kind of like mix it up a little bit, tone it down, those little big or bright orange spots. So I use my little fake Lego, and then I used the yellow, and then I outlined it with black. So I like it. I like what it did to the page. Okay, now we're done. What do you think? Do you like it? Give me a like if you like it. If you don't, just ignore it. Don't do anything. I hope that you are inspired and that you enjoyed watching my process and that you come hang out with me again and have a blessed day.